At this time, I want to welcome you and introduce Sheriff Ron Montgomery. Ron?
What you're going to hear today is some of the new laws that have been passed in Virginia became effective today. We actually have been talking about this a while. When I say we, the York-Poquoson Sheriff's Office, particularly the seatbelt law that gentlemen in this room helped enact with Christy King. And then you're going to hear from Tammy Guido here shortly about her efforts to have another law passed that she's very passionate about as well. And she's done an outstanding job over the past couple of years. So the last thing that I want to say before I turn it back over to Delegate Green, I've talked about it for a while, is some of these laws that are now secondary offenses, I'm hopeful that as we move forward with the next General Assembly, that we can start discussing the fact that these laws save lives, and there's no reason for them to be secondary offenses, particularly seatbelts, which I'm very passionate about. Studies show that Virginia has the lowest rate of seatbelt uses in the United States, and I would like to think that we can turn that around and change it. But they save lives, they make sense, and I think that they need to be primary offenses so that we can start to enforce these and help people save lives. I think it doesn't make good sense sometimes to think that we have to make people do the right thing to be safe, but I think a step forward is me making some of these offenses primary offenses as opposed to secondary. So at this point, again, welcome to the York-Poquoson Sheriff's Office, and I'm going to turn it back over to Delegate Green.
Thank you. And Sheriff, stand up here for just a second. I think it's the utmost importance of what we do as delegates, legislators, keep the public safety and keep the public safe. And I will, next term, put in a bill to make seatbelt usage a primary offense.
Thank you very much.
I'll commit to that right now.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. We have two other legislators here, Mr. A.C. Cordoza and Senator Danny Diggs. If you'd like to come up and to the podium just for a second.
I'm Delegate A.C. Cordoza. I represent Tab, Poquoson, and York County, and the upper portion of Hampton. And it's been a greatly awaited bill to help make sure we have accountability not only for our youth citizens, but for parents. We wanted to make sure that parents do not hand over the keys to unlicensed drivers. So this is a very, very important bill, law that is now coming into effect. I like to keep it brief. This is going to help save a lot of lives, especially a lot of young lives. So we focus on that. Public safety is of the utmost concern in York County. And we pride ourselves in being one of the safest, if not the safest county in Virginia. So thank you again, Chad. Thank you, Tammy. And now I would like to call up Senator Danny Diggs.
I'm Senator Danny Diggs, and I'm here today to highlight a bill that I had passed that Delegate Green had a identical bill over in the House that we together put forth at the request of Tammy Guido McGee, which stemmed from her tragic loss a few years ago here in York County. And so our bill now highlights and makes it a Class 1 misdemeanor for an owner of a vehicle to knowingly allow a person who has no legal right to drive or a juvenile who has no driver's license at all, or if they are going to do more than what they are allowed under their learner's permit. So Tammy was in the General Assembly every day really pushing this bill, and I think she really deserves the credit. We were just the vehicle for her to get this bill passed. So the bills ended up almost identical in the House and the Senate, and I'm happy and proud to have been a sponsor of it, and I appreciate Tammy for putting forth all of her efforts into this. I mean, she's now become known nationwide as a traffic safety advocate, and she does an outstanding job, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. So thank you so much.
I want to talk to you all a little bit about the bill's passage, and it's pretty personal to me. In 2019, I was vice chair of the Board of Supervisors. It was right around fall, end of October, Tammy?
October 26th.
It was just after Yorktown Day. There's a terrible tragedy. I can still remember it. We lost some youth. They were taken way too short, and the reason they were taken was because the parents gave the keys to a unlicensed driver. I thought what a senseless loss of life that was. When I got to the General Assembly, Tammy came, we started talking. We talked the first year I was elected, and I said, this is a great idea. Let's see what we can do. Let me test the waters. Let me see what we can do to prevent this from ever happening again. Tammy came up to my office. I remember this the first day when we met and we talked about formulating this bill. And at the end of our talk, Tammy said, Connor's favorite color was green. And I said, you know what? That's just, it's not a coincidence. We worked very hard to get this through. This was a short session, and many of the bills were not docketed for committee hearing. This one got docketed at the very end, so it was a race to get that through both the Transportation and the Courts and Laws Committee, and then get a vote in the House of Delegates, and then in the Senate, and then have the governor sign it. So we're very proud of what we were able to do, and Tammy was integral in that process with being up there, going and speaking with the legislators, making sure that people understood this. Much of the opposition that we received from this bill was from people who didn't understand the bill, people who were out in the Southwest, people who would say, hey, you know, we work on a farm. Here's the keys, go get a bale of hay from the farm, throw it out for the cows, or something of that nature. That's not what this bill's about. This bill is about protecting kids, protecting others on the drive, making their roads safer. And it makes it a crime for a parent or anyone else to knowingly give the keys to someone who's an unlicensed driver. That's who doesn't have a learner's permit, who doesn't have a license, who they know their license has been suspended. The purpose of this is not to lock up everyone we can, but the purpose is to get the word out there and potentially save some lives, make people think twice before they do that, and potentially change the trajectory of so many families' lives. With that, I am going to call on Tammy Guido McGee to come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you to Senator Diggs, Delegate Green, and Delegate Cardoza for being here and their unwavering support in trying to save lives. Briefly, on October 26, 2019, my life changed forever. My only son, Connor, who was just 16 years old, accepted a ride from an unlicensed teenager who had recently transferred to our school. That night ended in a crash that killed Connor, the driver, and his friend in the back seat. 3 teenage boys lost their lives needlessly. Poor judgment, negligent entrustment cost 3 families pain and suffering that we will never get over, that will never go away, and that will never change. Today, Connor should be in college. He should be playing soccer and planning his future. Instead, I stand here as his voice because he no longer has one. This new law, which you've heard in detail, goes into effect today, and it does make me smile because I know that Connor is continuing to live in death just as he did in life, saving lives. This marks Connor's 4th piece of legislation here in the state of Virginia that we've passed in the 5.5 years since Connor was killed. This law brings long overdue accountability to those who knowingly place teens and others at risk. It closes a dangerous loophole and sends a clear message. If you see something unsafe, you must speak up. In the years since Connor's death, I've made it my personal mission to protect other families from experiencing this pain, a pain which I don't wish on anyone. From strengthening driver education to high school assembly presentations across the country, community awareness events, and even launching our anonymous website, ifyouseesomething.saysomething.org, every step of this journey has been about saving lives. Connor's name continues to be attached to real change, but this work is far from over. I will continue to fight through education, outreach, and legislation, as long as they'll have me, until no other parent has to bury their child because of a preventable driving decision. Thank you all for standing with me and for your continued support. Long live Connor. Thank you.
I'm Major Ron Maxey with Virginia State Police, and I'd like to thank the elected officials here. I'd also like to thank Ms. Guido. Elected officials and highway safety advocates are what is needed to help us improve highway safety on our roadways. Tragic stories, unfortunately, are sometimes what get to some people. However, the reality is we cannot enforce our way or legislate our way to get down to 0 fatalities. To year to date, we've got 337 highway traffic safety fatalities on the roadway. 0 is what we strive for, but every life we can save helps to prevent a family from having to go through that tragic loss. We'd like to ask you this July 4th holiday that's coming up for everybody to be mindful, to slow down, to utilize seat belts in the vehicle. The legislation requiring all passengers in the vehicle to have safety belts on can do nothing but save lives. There are many accidents out there where a simple seat belt would have saved the life, or serious injuries that sometimes people don't take into account that can result in lifelong disabilities due to something as simple as putting on a seat belt. So we'd like to ask everybody, if you're going to parties, if you're going to see fireworks and you're going to have alcohol, please consider having a designated driver, take a taxi cab, or a ride share company that's out there. Do not drink alcohol, do not speed, be courteous on the road, and get to your destination safely. And again, we appreciate everything the elected officials here do for us, as well as highway safety advocates like Ms. Guido. Thank you.
Great conversations here today, and I want to thank everyone. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming and paying attention to this really important piece of legislation, and know that in Virginia, unlicensed driving is not going to be tolerated. Yes, personal freedoms come into play, but when you drink and drive, you drug and drive, you're distracted and you drive, you're unbuckled and you drive, and you become a problem for someone else on our roadways. That is the time that we need to step up and say, what you do in your vehicle should not affect me to the point that you could take my life. So traffic safety obviously has become something very near and dear to my heart, and something that I hope our senators and delegates will continue to support, especially here in Virginia. So thank you all for being here.